Hello guys, what is up? This video is about freezing. I figured the best thing to do is while I talk about it, literally just go in practice tool and show how to freeze. I'm going to be doing it mid lane because I think it's easier to freeze top lane than mid lane. So I'm going to do it mid lane instead to kind of show how it works. But anyway, while I freeze, I'll talk about it. So freezing, when you think about freezing, well, first I'll describe it. So freezing is when you hold the wave close to your tower, so that makes it harder for the enemy to farm. And I'm versus intermediate Kassadin bot this game to showcase what will happen. It doesn't matter if he's a bot or not. The point is, he's gonna be weaker than me because I'm on Yasuo and he's on Kassadin. So I'm gonna have control of the wave and I can make it freeze. And freezing is very good in the vacuum of the lane, if that makes sense. Please don't fight me, man. Well, I need him to run. Okay, I'm gonna hit him, but it's with the goal of him running away. Well, if he wasn't inting, here, I'll get him low so he backs up. Go back, bro. Alright, so he's gonna leave. Okay, so you want to push the wave? I didn't want to push it this fast, but the point is, so now that this wave pushed, it's gonna be under the enemy tower. And now that this wave crashed, is what you call it, the wave crashed, now it's going to push back. So now, what I don't want to do is keep hitting it. I don't want to like hit it again, push it again. What I want to do now is I just want to last it, let it push back. Which might be boring. Oh my gosh. Resident Sleeper, hit something, bro. Well, this is what you gotta do. This is the best way to play the game. Don't worry. Don't worry, we're gonna be hitting things real soon. But yeah, so freezing is the best thing to do. Like, if the game was a pure 1v1, it was just me versus Kassadin bot. There was no jungler, no top laner, no support. Then, this is like OP. Like, look, he can't walk up. The bot's not walking up because I'm up a level. But, if this were a real player, he'd probably do something similar. He'd just, like, get XP. Like, look, he can't do anything. I can just do this forever. And the reason is because his wave is stronger than my wave. And I can do this, I can like kill some minions. As long as his wave is stronger than my wave, that's all that matters. And the reason his wave is stronger is because I crashed my wave and then I stopped hitting it. So if you ever want to start a freeze and you don't know how, I don't know how common knowledge that is, but, just crash the wave and, maybe you can recall, maybe you can't. It depends. If you're top lane, you can recall because the wave pushed slower. If you actually look, see this wave is going to crash, and if we check back top lane in a minute or so, it will be crashing on the other side because that's just kind of how the waves work because the towers like flip it around. Even if there wasn't towers, it'd work out that way, but it's kind of hard to explain. Anyway, this is how you freeze. But now I'll talk about sometime you don't want to freeze. So there's a reason not everyone is just freezing every game. You don't queue up into a ranked game, and even in silver, they're like freezing. Because this is like such an OP strategy. Shouldn't everyone just be doing it? Well, here's when freezing is bad. Let's say that my jungler, this is around the time that my jungler's raptors would be respawning after he full cleared. And maybe the enemy jungler is coming. And I foresee that happening. And it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta defend my jungler's raptors. Let me push this real quick. Push this wave, I can like make sure it crashes if I really want to, so that he doesn't freeze, and then I go defend the jungler's raptors. I could even, if I love my jungle so dearly, I could even just stand here, make sure his raptors are defended until he gets back and he starts doing them. Don't want the enemy jungler coming in. Just stand here for a bit, and then I go back. Place a ward, whatever. Blah 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 blah. So as you can see, if you want to do more than just when you're 1v1, that's when you stop freezing. And then, since I crashed the wave, technically it's kind of back to freezing. So this was a good example of, canceling the freeze but bringing it right back. And then another example, dragon just spawned. Obviously, it's kind of late to push now. I would want to probably, if your jungler is good, he's going to do dragon off spawn, right? So you want to push the wave a little bit before dragon spawns, so then you can walk over and, as you arrive, dragon is spawning. Don't waste any time there. But this might be everything. Hopefully I communicated the idea well. Basically, freezing is good when there's really nothing to do except 1v1, but as soon as there's, something else to fight over, you should stop freezing, because neutral objectives, Dragon, Grubs, kind of Rift Herald, but not really. I'd say Dragon, Grubs, Otacon, and Baron Nashor are just all really OP. And then obviously, like I said, you can help your jungler out with the little camps, if you're that's like harder to pay attention to, right? But if you're the goat, then you can help your jungler out with camps like that too. Maybe my jungler wants to invade right now. This is when I push. Now the problem with this is, see, I'm freezing and now I'm pushing. You know, in Caston's brain, he's probably like, okay, this Yasuo is just pushing, and I even see him walking. But Yasuo just pushed now, right? So he's like, well, now that we know he's invading. But you shouldn't try to think about it like that, honestly. Like, you should try and do things that the enemy like can't really do anything about. So see, imagine like the two junglers are 1v1ing up there right now. They're like having a stare off. Then basically my jungler is just waiting for me to push. And now that I've pushed, I can come. Caston can't come because I pushed the wave and I help him out. Boom! Pretty simple when I describe it like this. I don't think this is too confusing. Obviously, it's harder to execute than actually talk about. Like, it's really easy to say all this stuff. It's harder to do it. But with practice, it's just as easy as talking about it. Obviously, I'm in an extreme example right now, right? I'm Yasuo versus Kassadin. But this is kind of just how it goes. Like, even if you're slightly stronger, if you can freeze, then you will, Say I'm like, I was originally gonna go Victor, because Yasuo it's easier to freeze on, right? Like, he can push faster, so I can like push the wave like this. So it crashes. Then start the freeze. See here, I could recall and TB back. I'll do this as the final thing before the video ends. I was thinking of going Victor though, because it's like harder to freeze on. But I decided to just go Yasuo, because he's probably a champion that people play more often as well. And see, the reason it's harder to freeze mid lane is because mid lane champions have good wave clear. Caston can E the wave, he can ult the wave. Yasuo can just one-shot the wave because Yasuo's broken. Most mages can just use their spells. So what you want to do is get this here. You don't want to tank the wave completely though, make the wave chase you. Otherwise it will just like AFK hit you. And then while you're here, might as well place a ward or something. And now it's frozen, From here you just go back to freezing. Obviously you have to like learn how to freeze, but I think with practice it makes sense, Just make sure the enemy wave is stronger than your wave. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just gotta make it work. So pull the minions again and repeat. And ideally, you wanna pull it to where your team is, right? Like if my jungler's here, I'd rather have it closer to my jungler than farther than my jungler, Or maybe not, it all depends. Maybe I want to pull it up to pretend my jungler is down there, League is a game, you can kind of just do what you want as long as you're being smart about it. Anything can work. And yeah, I think that's the end of the video. I hope you learned something about freezing. Maybe you learned how to freeze. Maybe you learned when you shouldn't freeze. As a general rule of thumb, if you're mid lane, it's usually bad to freeze. And if you're top lane, it's usually good to freeze. But like I said, what determines if the freezing is good is if there's something better to do. So the thing about mid lane is because you're in the middle of the map, right? You can almost always like find something else to do. Like maybe enemy bot lane is 1 HP, I can just shove the wave and go roam. Or maybe my jungler is fighting, right? I just shove the wave, bring my jungler, or go help my jungler. Basically, in mid lane, there's going to be a lot more opportunities where you can just see something to go do. So then you can just, instead of freezing, you can be like, oh, nice, I'm done freezing. Just go help your team. But, if there's absolutely nothing to do, let's say your jungler's, not hating him, but let's say your jungler's really bad, like he's filled or something, he's just full clearing on a Mumu, then yeah, whatever, let's just freeze, I imagine in lower ranks, freezing usually works out better. than trying to force something with your team. So, in lower ranks, if you want to take over mid lane, just go a scaling champion, Any scaling champion really is. And I feel like if you're good at the champion, it scales well. But, don't delude yourself. You can't think if you think you're good at Yasuo, but you're not winning on Yasuo, then, maybe you're not doing so good. But anyway, that's not even the point of the video. Hopefully you learned how to freeze. Obviously, this takes practice. You probably can't just do this first time, but the more you play League, the more it just kind of becomes second nature to freeze when it makes sense to freeze. At least in my opinion. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something about freezing. Yeah. Thanks for watching.